All right, greetings. My name is Grant Callen. I'm the president of Empower Mississippi, and I'm delighted to have a conversation today with Keeba Smith of Laurel. It's always exciting for me to talk to my fellow Jones County people. I was born and raised in Laurel, and Keeba is a high school biology teacher at Laurel High School. So we're thrilled to talk to you today about how you are responding and how your school is responding to this coronavirus. So before we launch into that, though, Keeba, tell me a little bit about what led you to a career in education.
I come from a long line of teachers. My mother's a teacher. My aunts, I had two aunts that are teachers. So when you grow up around it, it's basically all you know. But at the same time, I kept saying, I'm not going to go in this field. I'm going to do something different. So I joined the military. I've driven trucks over the road. I've done all types of careers, but I always came back to this because I love educating children. And so when I finally decided to get my life together and settle down, I went and got my teaching license, and it's been on that road ever since.
That's great. Well, so tell me a little bit about what your school has done once this COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic hit. How have y'all responded?
It's been a learning curve for everyone. It's amazing how we let out for spring break and everybody had the mindset, okay, we got spring break. We're coming back after this. We're going to hit the ground running. But I kind of knew as a science teacher that maybe you see all these other states at the time closing schools. And I told my kids, maybe we need to start preparing. And I said, if we don't come back after spring break, I'm going to send something to your email. And my school district is great because all our students had emails before. So it wasn't like we were behind the curve. But after they made the announcement that school was going to be closed to April 17th, the week after spring break, we met at the school, teachers. We met in groups, like, science group here. So we're not all in the building at the same time. And my principal was great with that. He put it up to the teachers as our discretion as to how we want to go forward. And I had done research, and I looked at Khan Academy. Khan Academy offered a free program, and their curriculum had things that go along with the curriculum I was teaching, and I could pick and choose assignment. And so I'm able to email my students and say, hey, this is your assignment. And, we still have Zoom meetings, Zoom PLC, to monitor how progress is going, but it's not about grades. It's about content, just trying to keep the kids, give them some knowledge-based things. But at the same time, I got students, I had a student email me saying she was overwhelmed because she helping her mom at home. She has a job, and I'm like, look, it's okay if you don't get it, because I know it's not about grade. I'm not going to overwhelm this child with, work that I can't grade, and I want her to have the knowledge. But if it's not working for you, it's not working for you. And I even went to her job. She worked at McDonald's. I went to her job to make sure she was okay, because at this point in time, it's not about tests and grades. It's about making sure that children are whole, that they're calm, and that they know that, hey, it's just a little bump in the road where I'm going to get through this. So.
Yeah, I love that you're touching on sort of the human element of, so often in education we lose that piece, and at least a lot of the conversation is about testing and quotas and making sure kids are making progress, and all of that matters. But at the end of the day, these are kids whose lives have been shattered in a lot of ways, and this is it's a lot of change.
Yes.
So I'm really glad y'all are working on that. So were you glad to see that the state waived the end of year testing and the accountability pieces for this year?
Yes, I was. I have a third grader, and he was nervous, like, Mom, I got to get back to school because I have to take this test. I have to, have that reading gate. And I was like, son, they've done away with that. You're going to pass. And he just saw the relief. Now with all that gone, you look at it, teachers, we're still teaching.
Yeah.
And we've always taught. So it's not about the test. It's not about curriculum. And it's just about teaching kids. And if your child, like my son, I have a fifth grader, his teacher sent him a recipe, just something, learning math a fun way, just outside the box thinking. And these are things that would be great to teach the kids in school, but because of tests, We have to teach it a certain way. You have to follow these guidelines. I feel like the kids are losing so many things. So when they did away with that, it's just like now teachers, we can be creative.
Why did it take a crisis to get us there? Because I mean, when I talk to teachers across the state, the what you're saying, I hear echoed all the time from teachers in every corner of the state who feel like their creativity has been stifled, who feel like they don't have freedom in the classroom to help meet the individual needs of students who may need something a little bit differently. How did we get here, and why did it take a crisis to give us back to where we just want to let teachers teach?
I feel like the policymakers haven't stepped foot inside the classroom since they left the classroom. And so they're making decisions about things they really don't know. And it's like I've always used this analogy that, life gives you lemons, you make lemonade, where teachers, we're given these trees and taught to grow. And you might not have the right soil, you might not have the right atmosphere, but you have to do what you have to do. And that's what we're just giving these kids. And it's like, hey, you have to make them learn and you have to do it this certain way, but this child needs something different. And it's a lot of risk to go outside the box. And it just puts us in a bind when we should not be in a bind. If we want to teach, we're teaching kids, we should be able to teach them the way we want to teach them when we know they can be taught and not have to have a test to say, oh, well, this child wasn't taught this because he didn't learn it this way. But if you want to teach a child how to multiply and they got these steps, but in the end, if the child gets the right answer, it shouldn't matter the way we talk.
Right. So, there's this whole conversation both in Mississippi and nationally about testing and the role of testing in making sure students are making progress. And, there's a lot of us that are not against testing, but I'm certainly concerned about the emphasis that we place on testing to where it appears that testing is all that matters.
Right.
Where do you stand on that conversation?
I feel like some tests are okay, but it puts us in a position where teachers are teaching the test and not the whole child. I mean, we have a whole generation of students that don't know how to write in cursive because it was not on the test.
Mm.
And so you got the kids who don't even know how to sign their name because the test did not require that. So what do we do in between time? And that's a life skill. We need to go back and teach life skills.
So I'm a little bit concerned that while we had this momentary blip where we've waived a lot of requirements, we've stepped back from the testing, we've allowed, at least for a short term, teachers to be innovative and think outside the box. I'm afraid, though, that's a short term thing, and we're going to go back to this overbearing, high regulation, lack of creativity, lack of innovation in the classroom once we get back to normal. What would you say to lawmakers or others that are crafting policies about this to sort of, what would you say we ought to keep about this current moment and what ought to change?
If you're not to get rid of tests, make them to where it's not all about the test. It should not be all about the test.
Yeah.
And I know high schoolers, you must take those 4 tests to graduate. And one while they was talking about getting rid of the history, and then they said it won't work. And you got kids I know who, some people are not just, they're not test takers. I mean, I say, look at the grades in class. Compare it to if a child scores, maybe, if a child missed the score maybe by a couple of points, look at the grades they're making in class. And don't penalize the child because not everybody can get in are just test takers and can look and read. They sometimes just have to be taught different. And so to compare them all on the same scale to pass or no pass, it should not be that way. We should have like some kind of safety net. It's like, okay, well, child scored this, but what did he score over here? And see if that can help them versus, well, you missed it, so you don't graduate, and you've worked 12 years for this. But I've seen students in the 12th grade still taking the test from the 10th grade they didn't pass.
Wow.
And they're just frustrated. And it's like you can see it on their face how they want to give up, but it could be just one test they're not passing that they need to walk and graduate. So you're going to fail this child and take away that moment for this one test. You need to have a contingency plan because sometimes it's just not working.
Yeah. As you've talked to your students since this pandemic started, what do you think their emotional state is? Like, I know there's a lot more going on in their world than education, but do you think they're relieved to have some of the pressure off? Or do you think the distractions of this moment and sort of the pressures of life kind of outweigh that benefit?
I think it's just everything the pressure, because believe it or not, kids need structure. And they know from 7 to 3, I'm going to be at school. So now we've thrown a curveball at them. They have no structure, but we still want them to learn everything we're trying to teach. But yet now they're at home, and they're not at home alone where, because they might have to find, now with food, you might have to cook. High schoolers are cooking. You might cook for you might cook for your brother, sister. So that structure you used to is gone, and it can be overwhelming. And sometimes you just have to say, hey, what's more important? Yep. And at that time, education is not at the top of the list. It's about survival.
Let me switch gears and ask one more question before we end. I know your daughter is in the Education Scholarship Account program, and you're a public school teacher.
Yes.
So some have viewed this program and traditional public education as hostile to one another, or that somehow they're competing. And we've never seen it that way, because we've never thought ESAs would replace traditional education. They should come alongside and help students who need a little something different. How do you reconcile, as a public school teacher and having a child in the ESA program, how do you reconcile those two things?
I'm an advocate for public school, always have been, always will be. My situation, my daughter, she has dyslexia. She cannot get the treatment she needs in public school. So she goes to the 3D school in Petal. They're teaching her for 3 years how to live with this disability. That's basically what it is, a learning disability. They're teaching her how to navigate it, how to live with it, because she was a child who could not read. She couldn't keep up with her sight words. Now she's reading 3 or 4 books a week. She's on Harry Potter book, which is a 6th grade level book, and she's reading it. Now, when she has 1 more year, when she's done with that 1 year, we're coming out the ESA program, and she's going back to public school so that another child can come on and get that help they need. So it's not replacing it. It's actually giving her what she needs to be able to succeed when she goes back to public school. Because even though I love public school and I'm for it, there are things that they don't have to meet the needs of kids with certain learning disabilities. And as a parent and as a teacher, because I know the system, I knew they didn't have it. And that's not, and it's not saying, well, you're a public school teacher, your daughter goes to private school. Yes, she goes to private school, but it's a school for her needs. It's not just because I want her to be in private school. If the public school system had a dyslexia therapist, or if they even recognize it, because they would not even recognize she had dyslexia, she would be there. She's going back, and she's going to stay there when she goes back, and she's going to take what she's learned and use it for the better. But you got kids out there who have dyslexia, who have all these severe learning disability that the public school cannot meet. And it's not because they don't want to. A lot of times it's for the budget. If they can hire 2 more teachers for the same pay they hire this dyslexia therapy, of course they're not going to hire one, because one child versus, 2 more classrooms spreading 30-some kids out, they're going to go that route. And I don't fault them for that. But I had to do what's best for my child, and I'm so happy this program came along, because it helps with tuition. And when you're looking at how much gas I'm spending going to and from school, it helps out somewhere. And I know that other parents are going to help them out too, because I let them know that, hey, there's a program out there. Your child shouldn't have to suffer because you feel like you can't afford it. It doesn't hurt to try. So
that's great. Keeba, thank you for your time this afternoon. It's been great to hear your perspective on this, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
All right. Thank you, Grant.
Thank you.